You know what's weird? Miyamoto Musashi fought over 60 duels in his lifetime and never lost a single one. 60 fights to the death, and he walked away from every one. When people asked him how he did it, they expected some secret technique, some devastating move nobody else knew. But his answer shocked everyone. He said he never focused on being better than his opponent. He only focused on perfecting his own technique every single day. That one shift in mindset separated him from every other warrior in feudal Japan. And it's the same shift that separates people who actually master skills from people who stay mediocre forever. Let me tell you about Takeshi. He's a software developer now, writes code for a major tech company in Tokyo, gets paid well, respected by his team. But 5 years ago, when he was learning to code, he was failing hard. He'd watch tutorials on advanced algorithms and try to build complex applications right away. He'd skip the boring stuff, basic syntax, simple functions, fundamental patterns, because that felt too elementary, too slow. He wanted to build impressive things immediately, show off what he could do. So he'd cobbled together code that barely worked, full of shortcuts and workarounds, never quite understanding what was happening under the hood. And after months of this, he was still terrible. His code broke constantly. He couldn't debug his own work. Every new project felt like starting from zero. That's when his mentor, an older programmer who'd trained in Japan's traditional apprenticeship system, told him about kihon. It's a samurai concept that means basic techniques, and it changed everything for Takeshi. His mentor explained that even master swordsmen who'd trained for 30 years would begin every practice session with the most basic strikes and stances. They never stopped practicing fundamentals, even after they'd learned advanced techniques that seemed way more impressive. Because excellence isn't about knowing 1,000 different techniques. It's about knowing 10 fundamental techniques so deeply that you can apply them perfectly in 1,000 different situations. So Takeshi started over. He stopped trying to build impressive applications and went back to the absolute basics, writing simple functions, understanding how loops actually work, practicing basic data structures over and over until he could code them from memory without thinking. For weeks, he felt like he was going backwards. His friends were building portfolio projects while he was writing Hello World variations. But something shifted around week 6. The fundamentals became automatic. His fingers knew the patterns. His brain understood the logic, not as something he'd memorized, but as something he could feel. And when he finally started building more complex projects, they just worked. First try. Clean code, no mysterious bugs. Because the foundation was solid. This is what the samurai understood that most people today completely miss. We rush through basics because they feel boring. We want the impressive stuff immediately. But you cannot build a skyscraper on sand. Takeshi could ask himself now, can you perform the most basic elements of your skill perfectly every time without thinking? If you can't, you haven't truly mastered the fundamentals yet, and everything you build on top of that weak foundation will eventually crumble. But kihon was just the first lesson. The second one came when Takeshi started shipping real code to production. He'd finish a feature, get it working, and immediately want to move on to the next thing. The code worked, right? Good enough. But his mentor would review it and find these tiny issues, a variable name that wasn't quite clear, a function that could be simplified, comments that were missing or incomplete. None of it broke the code, but all of it made the code just slightly less excellent than it could be. His mentor taught him about zanshin. It's a samurai principle that means remaining mind or continuing awareness. When a samurai finished a sword strike, he didn't relax or celebrate. He maintained complete awareness of his surroundings, kept his guard up, stayed ready. The action wasn't truly finished until he'd followed through completely and returned to a ready state. Takeshi realized he had the opposite habit. He'd complete 90% of a task and rush to move on to something new. He'd hit send on code reviews without reading them one more time. He'd mark tickets as done when they were almost finished but missing final polish. This lack of follow-through showed up everywhere in his work. Sloppy commits, unfinished documentation, small bugs that slipped through. So he changed his definition of done. A task wasn't finished when the main work was complete. It was finished when he'd reviewed it carefully, tested edge cases, cleaned up his code, and ensured it met his highest standard. When he wrote a function, he'd read it again before committing. When he built a feature, he'd test it thoroughly before calling it complete. When he finished his daily practice, he didn't stop when something worked once. He completed the full set he'd committed to, then reviewed what he'd learned. This complete follow-through transformed his work. His code went from good to exceptional. His pull requests started getting approved with barely any comments. Other developers began asking him to review their code because his attention to detail caught things everyone else missed. But the third lesson was the hardest, because mastery isn't just about technique and follow-through. It's about what happens inside your head when things go wrong. About 2 years into his journey, Takeshi applied for a senior developer position at his dream company. He prepared for weeks, studied obsessively, felt confident going into the interview, and he bombed it completely. They rejected him within 24 hours. He felt crushed, started doubting whether he was actually good enough, watched other developers his age getting promoted while he stayed stuck. The voice in his head kept saying, "Maybe you're just not talented enough for this. Maybe you should give up and find something easier." That's when his mentor told him about fudoshin, immovable mind, unshakable spirit. It doesn't mean being stubborn or refusing to change. It means developing a mind that stays calm and focused no matter what challenges or distractions appear. A samurai with fudoshin could face a larger opponent without fear, receive harsh criticism without becoming defensive, experience failure without losing confidence in his path.
The modern world constantly tests your fudoshin. You face criticism from people who don't understand your goals. You experience failures that make you doubt your abilities. You see others succeeding faster than you, which creates anxiety and comparison. You encounter obstacles that weren't part of your original plan. All of these things can shake your commitment and make you abandon the path to mastery before you reach your destination. Takeshi's mentor taught him to separate his emotions from his actions. When you feel discouraged, practice anyway. When you receive negative feedback, look for the useful information without taking it personally. When someone else achieves what you're working toward, study their method instead of feeling jealous. So Takeshi went back to that failed interview. He asked for feedback, got detailed notes on what went wrong, and studied every weak point they identified. He practiced those areas specifically. He applied to other companies, got rejected again, studied more. Each rejection stung. Each one made him want to quit, but he kept practicing, kept improving, kept his mind immovable even when his emotions screamed at him to give up. This mental strength didn't develop overnight. It grew through repeatedly choosing to continue when everything inside him wanted to quit. Each time he pushed through doubt and kept practicing, his fudoshin became stronger. 8 months after that first rejection, he interviewed at another company, same level position, and he nailed it. But more importantly, he developed something that couldn't be shaken by a single interview, a single failure, or a single setback. He'd built an immovable mind. Here's what Takeshi understands now that most people never figure out. Mastery rests on 3 foundations. First, never stop perfecting the fundamentals, no matter how advanced you become. Second, follow through completely on everything you do with full awareness and attention. Third, develop a mind that cannot be shaken by failure, criticism, or obstacles. These principles worked for ancient warriors. They work for modern developers. They'll work for whatever skill you're trying to master right now. The samurai didn't have special talent. They didn't have secret techniques unavailable to everyone else. They just walked a path that's been proven for centuries. They practiced basics until those basics became invisible. They completed every action with full awareness and attention. They built minds that couldn't be moved by temporary setbacks. The question isn't whether this path leads to mastery, it always has. The only question is whether you'll walk it consistently enough to reach your destination. Because the path is simple, but simple doesn't mean easy. It means showing up every day to practice fundamentals when they feel boring. It means following through completely when you're tired. It means continuing when your emotions are screaming at you to quit. That's the samurai way. That's what separates the masters from everyone else. Not talent, not luck, just the willingness to walk the proven path long enough to reach the other side.